feedback is one of the most valuable tools we can all have. Because again, if you don't have awareness around something, how can you change it?
Well, some fast feedback on your approach so far is that, see, nobody wants to hear that, right? Nobody wants to hear in the very beginning of a meeting is like, oh, here's something I want you to change.
Right. The last thing you want to hear is, I'm not listening to you, do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
The first person you should look for feedback to is yourself.
Okay.
I wasn't getting the results I wanted, so it would be silly of me to go, it's everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't everybody else. It was me.
So kind of holding a mirror up and saying,
exactly.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite phrases, hold the mirror up and see, because at the root of all of my problems is me.
Mm-hmm.
On a human level, we don't want to hurt someone else's feelings. So they'll resist giving feedback, or when they do give feedback, it's not received. So they think, why should I even do it?
Often you find yourself wanting to give feedback to people and help them understand how they can do better in scenarios, and it just doesn't quite land the way that you hoped it would. Today's episode, we're going to explore how you can give feedback more effectively, how you can create the change that you're looking for in the world, and I have an amazing guest that I cannot wait to introduce you to, Ms. Caramel.
Hi, Phil. So it's my pleasure to be here. Absolutely thrilled.
Well, some fast feedback on your approach so far is that, see, nobody wants to hear that, right? Nobody wants to hear in the very beginning of a meeting is like, oh, here's something I want you to change.
Right. That's absolutely true. The last thing you want to hear is, I'm not listening to you, do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And that typically doesn't go over with people very good. So what I've learned in my years of doing this, and I'm going to say it starts with a personal journey, if
Okay.
you will. The three ways I've worked through this is, in order for someone to have change, there has to be awareness. And I realized I was one of those people that that led in what I would call a very pragmatic way. I was just very direct. And what happens when you lead direct is you leave dead bodies in your wake, and eventually you have no one left to lead. And what I realized was, if I wanted any longevity to my career or any relationship, that needed to change. So the first thing I set out, I had an epiphany. And the epiphany was, I was having a discussion with someone in public in front of other people that should have been a private discussion. And when I heard the words coming out of my mouth, I heard my mother's voice.
Oh.
And it was my mother saying, go clean your room, go empty the dishwasher, go do this chore, go do that chore. And I realized I hated that. I hated it. It didn't motivate me. It made me, donkey leg even more. Like, no, you can't tell me what to do. So at that moment, I had that epiphany that something needed to change. And that's what started me on the journey to working on myself to help other people. Because if you don't recognize it in yourself, you can't possibly help someone else work through it. I've walked their steps. I've walked a journey similar to theirs. And that's where my whole love of communication and language and how do we use our words actually started.
Okay. And you said there were three things, right?
Yeah.
There's this awareness piece of
Yeah.
you going, oh, mom's voice. I
Yeah.
don't want to be the tell mode.
Right. The second was, what do I want to do about it? And how do I go to work on myself? And then the third was, how do I help others work through whatever it is in their own communication challenges? So for me, I did a lot of studying, but you don't learn to speak Spanish by reading a Spanish book. You have to get out and practice it. So I've spent a lot of time working on myself in conversations and how to phrase things better, which is why when I was introduced to your work through a very good friend, that it resonated at such a deep level. I thought this is what I had been looking for that simplifies the whole package. And what I've been able to do with that third step in supporting others is like attracts like. So when I was the lead by running over everybody, I realized as a coach, a lot of my clients were that same type. And there weren't relationships there. It was a punch for punch, if you will. Mm-hmm. And they were running their teams the same way. And what I've been able to do over the past 5-6 years, and really probably the past 2.5, elevating, magnifying this, was to help work with them on how to have better communications that see their teams thriving and getting back the culture or creating the culture that they never had, because now they have tools and questions to ask, because simple pragmatic doesn't work over the long run for them.
Why do people resist giving feedback?
Probably because on a human level, we don't want to hurt someone else's feelings. So they'll resist giving feedback, or when they do give feedback, it's not received. So they think, why should I even do it? And yet feedback is one of the most valuable tools we can all have, because again, if you don't have awareness around something, how can you change it? So the first person you should look for feedback to is yourself.
Okay.
I wasn't getting the results I wanted. So it would be silly of me to go, it's everybody else. It wasn't everybody else. It was me. I was the one whose words, they're not understanding me. They're not following me, etc. It was me.
So kind of holding a mirror up and saying,
exactly.
Okay, this needs to be self on self first.
It's one of my favorite phrases, hold the mirror up and see, because at the root of all of my problems is me. Yeah.
So no doubt you have opinions. You could walk out into the world this evening. You could see hundreds of people and think of hundreds of ways they could be doing things differently that based on your opinion would be better for them. What stops you just launching into giving feedback to anybody in any way, anytime?
I realized that they don't ask for it. Doesn't stop me from doing it in my head. I mean, that still happens. Let's be honest. However, if it isn't someone that I have a relationship with that's given me permission to do that, I don't have any right to do that.
So
all.
You have that within your trusted mentor relationships. You have that within your private coaching clients. You have that when the frame of reference is that you are embodied or empowered with the ability to be able to talk into one's life. But without that permission,
you're just verbally, you're a verbal vomit volcano on them with information that they probably aren't ready to receive.
What's the risk of doing that?
Killing a relationship or the potential of one. That or you now create a relationship that is a non-relationship, which is even worse because it's repelling the other person. I don't want to talk to Kara anymore because she always tells me what to do. She annoys me, whatever the word is that they would use.
If you want to get better at things in your life, how do you go about both choosing the people that could talk into your life and then requesting the feedback that's necessary?
Well, choosing the people, seek out the best. I think it's like anything in business. My philosophy is, why go out there and just like blank, open the phone book when you have great relationships? Who do you know who might be really great in this space that I should be talking to, which is quite frankly how I ended up with you, because someone else that we both mutually knew had said, you have to meet Phil. And I resisted and they were right. They were right. So it's building it through finding the mentors and building those relationships through other people and looking at who's doing it really well and asking myself, how do I get in their presence? How do I start to learn from them? I can study them online. I can read everything they wrote. But again, until I can really get in that room with them and have that conversation, it might not elevate me to the level I want to be.
You work with a lot of clients one-on-one, right?
I do.
And when you're working with clients one-on-one, sometimes they're looking for encouragement. Sometimes they're looking for praise. Sometimes they're looking for constructive criticism. Sometimes they're looking for a swift kick in the backside. Like how do you know how to be able to deliver peak performance from them? How do you know which flavor of love they're looking for from you?
It's all individual. It's because I work with a select group of individuals. It's very tailored to their personality. There's some that I can say, all right, stop right now. What are we even doing here? And we've been talking about this thing for 3 months. Just tell me, how many more months are we going to be talking about this so that I can mark my calendar when we're actually going to do something about it, right? That won't work with everybody. There's others that I would need to approach the conversation a lot gentler, a lot softer, with, I hear what you're saying and it makes perfect sense that you would be saying this. And what are the next steps that you see? Or the way I see it, you have 3 options, if you will. and lay out some of those. Because I also know too, that as someone who has studied the neuroscience and being a neural performance coach, is that we can tell ourselves anything in our head and it makes sense. And until we get those words out and we actually hear ourselves say them, and you're like, okay, I don't really want that option. So I view my role as the lens that and the extractor to help them pull out what their options are, and maybe give them another few that they might not have seen, so that they can make the best decision for themselves moving forward.
You've spoken on a lot of stages.
Yes.
You address a number of audiences. I know I've had this happen to me. I'm curious if it's happened to you. Have you ever come off stage and had somebody come to you and offer you some unsolicited feedback?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Please share.
Do I have to? No, I mean, it's typically something where most people are nice and I really liked it, but, and it's that but.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want your butt. Get your butt away from me. Keep your butt away. I have my own butt, right? I'm trying to get rid of my own. So you've got to handle it graciously.
Okay.
Right? And what it always reminds me is, don't be that person. Don't be the person. If it annoys me, it might annoy other people. So I'm not going to put myself in that position. However, I'm going to listen to what they said, because if I hear the message more than once might be an anomaly. 2 might be, pay attention. 3 might be, there's a pattern here that I need to pay attention to, whether it's unsolicited or not, or solicited.
Yeah, and I think it's much down to the messenger again, right?
Yes,
is so much trust and inherent respect needs to be. Is feedback from the wrong source is inherently more sort of damaging and vandalizing than more.
If you don't know me, and this is the first time you've been in a room with me and you've heard a 90-minute speech, that's a lot different than someone who's worked on a 6-week 6-hour-a-week class that does get to know me a little better, versus, my husband, who claims that I don't listen to anything he suggests. So, he says I listen to everyone else, not him. I listen to him.
Well, you heard him say that.
Honey.
You must have done. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to retell that story, right?
Oh my gosh. High five on that.
That's right.
Yes. I listen to you. Phil pointed out I do.
That's right. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to tell the story of the fact that you think I don't listen to you. How do I get to that otherwise?
Exactly.
Okay. And I think, sometimes I get asked a lot when I'm sitting in other people's audiences is, can you provide some feedback on what I'm doing? And what I've learned to be able to say is, well, what are you working on?
I've had that happen to me with you. Exactly. What is the outcome you want? What are you looking to work on? What are you looking to improve? Because now you have the lens, right?
And what I've learned by asking that question sometimes is what people are actually looking for is some validation.
Yes.
And they're not looking for something specific. When they say to me, I'm looking for some thoughts, is what they're looking for is some appreciation, some validation, some reassurance of what's working well. And they want wind at the back. They're not looking for fault. Right. And this is such a sensitive subject of trying to help give people the flavor of ice cream back they were asking for.
Right.
And feedback is different to an opinion in my thought process.
Yes, I would agree with that.
So what's the difference between providing feedback and insights or just delivering your opinion into a moment?
Well, I think if we get into the semantics of the word, an opinion is what I think, unsolicited, and feedback is something that someone that we perceive the other person wants.
Okay.
And that they should receive it in a different way. But again, if they didn't ask for it, you have to recognize that you may just be giving an opinion.
So you can't give feedback without purpose, and you can't give feedback without the other person actually acknowledging that the outcome that is the other side of that purpose is something that they're committed to.
Correct. I would agree with that.
Okay. So even inside a trusted relationship in a trusted environment, how do you get into position to be able to deliver maybe some tough feedback challengingly when you've got joy and enthusiasm within the relationship and you've got to be able to share something that's less than desirable?
Right. Well, what I've learned through the years is that even if that relationship's there, you need to ask for permission. If you're willing to have a quote unquote tough conversation, or you feel that something isn't going to be received on the other end, it's best to ask permission. Do I have permission to share an observation with you or a pattern I've been noticing?
And I get that.
Yeah.
But what can somebody say to that? Like if you say, can I have your permission to be able to provide you some insights? Can I have your permission to share something that I've been observing? What's the only thing somebody can say to that?
Well, you'd think it would be yes, but I've had people say, I don't know that I'm ready to hear it.
Okay.
Or I know what you're going to say. And what that question does is it breaks it up because you want to get them into a place, the person in the other end, other side of the conversation, if you will, into a place where they are going to be relaxed, because typically that comes at a tense moment.
Yeah.
Right. And you want something as a coach or a mentor in that moment to be able to say, okay, it's important to you because you've told me it's important to you that we work through this issue. And if the news I'm going to deliver is tough, what's the best way or they're going to perceive it as tough. What's the best way for me to get that message across? And sometimes humor is the thing that breaks it. Sometimes it's the tonality in the voice.
Yeah.
It's lowering the voice if it's something more serious, or being thoughtful in having the conversation. And sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? This is I just had this thought. Can I share it with you? It's got to mirror that person's personality, which is why relationships are so hard.
And what I love about that, even reframe there of like, I've just had this thought, can I share it with you? That sounds positive and upward, and it feels like this is for the better.
Right.
Whereas, hey, can I have your permission to share something with you might find difficult? Feels like it's a punch, and the energy is downward.
It's going to be better sit down for this, right? It's you're telling them, you're pre-framing it that it might not be received well. And yet there are different ways. And what I look to do in my practice is mirror that to how the relationship is. If I know you and know you well, you're going to get the methodology that works best with you.
Okay. And some degree of patience and thoughtful thought ahead of time. You're not letting it just enter head and come out.
No, Phil, because the worst time to think about what to say is in the moment you're saying it, right? So it's creating that space to one of the things that I've learned to do is start to, when I'm having a intentional conversation, not quit calling them tough conversations. Or important conversations, it's an intentional conversation. I actually pre-write out my talking points. So I look at where I might have to soften things a little bit, where I might have to toughen things a little bit, depending on who's on the other side. And this is one of the things that I've been working on some of my coaching clients with too, that lead teams that are very frustrated that their agents aren't participating at the level that they want, and they're showing up in boss mode. And we're working on how do you show up in leader mode? And that's by asking more questions and being genuinely interested in the outcome versus just what they're not doing.
And I find that when looking to deliver any form of feedback too, is that if you can sense check that the destination that you believed was the destination that they were looking to try and achieve is still the destination they were looking for, is that before you jump to here's something you could or should or perhaps might want to try, is to give 3 to 5 questions first to check that they're committed to that as an outcome.
And what you said there was so important because, and we see this a lot, especially in the real estate world. It's what's the outcome that you're actually looking for from the conversation. It's some sort of forward movement. So whether it's a critical conversation or whether it's a lead generation conversation, what is the outcome you're looking for from that conversation?
100%.
And then reverse engineer the conversation to fit the outcome, not the other way around.
Why is there so much negative energy attached to the thought of feedback?
It probably comes from the fact that people don't want to be criticized, and that their internal representation of feedback is someone is criticizing me, they don't like me.
Okay. And it's interesting that we ask for permission to give feedback because we're fearful the other person is going to not necessarily take it in the right intent or the right moment. But you wouldn't say to somebody, can I have some permission from you to deliver you some praise right now?
No, that's very true.
Yet they're both a form of feedback.
Yes. Yes. I think, from some of the studying I've done through the years, I believe the English language has 2 times or 3 times as many negative words than it does positive words.
Yeah.
So we've been programmed into this negativity through everything we're doing every day, through media, through news, through, forget doom scrolling. I mean, the word came from somewhere. So if we know that we have a habitual vocabulary and we have attached meanings to words that were given to us at some point in time, well, whenever someone uses that, we're just looking for the reinforcement that is the definition.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love if we could change that to, I want to give you some feedback. You were phenomenal up there, without a but.
Yep.
With no buts. No buts.
But adding specificity to it even more so is like, I'm going to give you some feedback. You were exceptional up there. What I loved was this, and what I thought was exceptional was that. And, and the way that you did X, Y, and Z was something that was mesmerizing. And what I saw from people in the audience was this, and this, and actually add specificity to it.
Right.
And see if we can change the way that the world thinks
in
about
a way
feedback.
that person isn't sitting there going, and when's it going to drop? When's the hammer going to drop?
Sure.
And but what? Right?
And we might have to train that as leaders, is that there is no but, right? It's like, that's
exactly.
it. That's the whole thing.
There is no but. I love it.
Yeah, that's the
no
whole
buts.
thing. We can change this. And okay, so if I've got bad news to deliver to somebody, and that the worst time to think about the thing that I'm going to say is in the moment I'm saying it, what should I be considering before I bring this constructive criticism, this change I'd like to see in their world to their attention? What should go through my head ahead of time?
Well, the first is, what is the outcome? Right. And we want it to be a positive outcome. The second thing would be, how do they want to be communicated with? Okay. Right. Looking at them as a human, not in a model of one size fits all. And what is the best way to reverse engineer the questions? I mean, some people are going to talk really highbrow. Yep. And some you're going to have to, like, what maybe you could get in 4 or 5 yes set questions might be 10 or 12. Yep. And it's being curious enough to lead them down the path with the conversation to get them to a place where the conversation we're having really isn't a negative conversation. It's a positive conversation because it comes from a place of, they understand that I, on the other side of this, have their best interests and are looking to help. Because as a coach, that's what they've hired me to do.
Yep. So it's being clear on what is the catalyst, the game of mousetrap that you're kicking off here. What's the entire journey and the destination you want to get it to?
Yeah. What's the rules of the game? Tell me the game, and I'll help you figure out how to win it. Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be able to go the whole distance, which means the moment matters as well, right? You got to pick the moment, pick the circumstances, choose the environment.
Right. And it can't be where you show up for every conversation. Okay, what'd you do? Oh, you didn't do it again. I mean, who wants to show up for those type of conversations? It's looking for the wins within the conversation that you can build on and say, hey, remember that time that you were having a tough week and you toughed it out and you did it? Could this be just like that time? And what if we left this call, this session, with an outcome similar and a plan? How would that feel?
How does that differ if it's good news?
It doesn't really.
Okay.
I mean, I really don't think it does, because again, if they did something good, it might be, how do we replicate it? And are we good with the trajectory that it's heading? Or can we eke out a little more? Can it be the same thing plus 10% or 20% in the next segment, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is? And they'll be the ones that'll say, maybe we can.
Okay.
Maybe we can. Or no, I'm comfortable here right now. And then, some schools of thought might say, push them anyway. Nobody wants to be pushed. So we would talk about, okay, I agree. Let's get stabilized. And when you're stabilized, let's take the next set of staircases, next set of stairs together.
So it's keeping it moving, keeping the journey fluid, helping understand that the destination needs to be somewhere further in the distance. Right. It's not behind us.
Exactly.
And reassurance that they definitely want to go there.
Right.
And then creating a safe space for that conversation.
Absolutely.
That has somebody be able to receive those insights, that feedback in a way that is going to deliver the outcome that's important.
Definitely. And remembering too that it's their journey. I'm the coach. I'm the one that gets to stand on the side. I'm not the one actually taking the journey. So I didn't see every nuance of everything that week. So for me to get in and go, 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 you can do more would be ridiculous. It's gauging on where they're at, and let's keep that end goal, that mountain in sight. But maybe you have to take a step back, or maybe you just pause. I remember hearing a speaker once talk about her journey in climbing Mount Everest. And one of the things I didn't realize is you get to base camp, and then it's not like you get to base camp and the next day you climb to the top of the mountain. It's like a 2 or 3 week process, and you're up and you're back and you're up and you're back and you're up and you're back. And that's the way a lot of people's businesses are. But what they want to do is they want to get to base camp and take one step and be at the top. And some of those steps are going to be good, and some aren't going to be. But it's stabilizing along the way and going a little further and a little further to help them move forward.
So I'm learning here that if you want to be better at giving feedback, be better at taking feedback.
Definitely.
Start with yourself.
Yes.
Have conversations with yourself where you are open to the fact that better is possible, and allow that self-talk to be able to create change.
Definitely. Because if you put up a wall around yourself, I mean, you can't coach someone if you're not coachable. If you're not open
and that's
to
a
it.
permission piece even with yourself, right?
Absolutely.
If you are looking to create change in other people's circumstances, only do so if you know that the destination that they are looking to go for is in line with the feedback that you have to be able to deliver.
Correct.
Choose your moments.
Choose your moments.
Get crystal clear on the outcome that is desirable towards those. So don't step into a conversation if you can't carry it the distance.
Right.
And maybe a practice that you can run to be able to put these skills into everyday usage would be to intentionally look to get better at giving positive feedback.
Yes.
Which then perhaps will help you flex the skills to allow you to be able to have more constructive conversations when things are less than desirable.
Absolutely. And the way that we'll work on that is gratitude. Because you can't be in a state of gratitude and be negative or angry. So if you're in a place of gratitude, well, what's the positivity that comes out of it? I mean, we're not talking about Pollyanna. We're not talking about, something horrible just happened that was catastrophic, and well, at least, this didn't happen. It's what is that thing that we can take and move to that next step.
So let's wrap this up with something super practical. Is if somebody has a piece of bad news to deliver about a change they're looking for somebody, say in their workplace right now, it's somebody in your team and you're looking for them to be able to make a change. How should somebody go about it? If there's something they want to happen this afternoon, tomorrow morning, how do they go about delivering this feedback in a way that it creates lasting change?
Well, I would say pull out the perspective changers in the book, exactly what to say, and run down the list ahead of time with the important questions that you'd want to gain answers to stay curious enough for long enough to get the evidence that will point them in the direction that you believe they need to go based on what they've told you. And once they've given you that evidence because you've stayed curious, then you can go back to them because of the fact that you've said this, and this, and this. It sounds like this is the step you want to take. And it's a layup. Yeah. It's a layup. We're not taking half court shots at that point. We're laying it up.
So create a moment that you can get into a conversation with somebody. You can ask a series of well-structured, curious questions to check that they are in alignment with the outcome.
Right.
And then say, because of the fact that you said that what you're looking for, then what you may want to consider is this, isn't this?
Exactly. And one last tip on that, Phil, is I work with a lot of clients who think they have to have all this memorized. And then they get in paralyzation and they won't do it. Write the questions out ahead of time and sit down with the person on their team or the client that's in front of them and say, because this is such an important conversation and you're important to me, I pre-thought out some questions. Do you mind if we just go through them? Because the person in control is the one asking the questions, and this helps that person stay in control and emotions can stay out of it.
Cara, thank you for your insights today around giving feedback more effectively, helping other people grow for the better, and realizing that not all bad news needs to be bad news. It can lead to massively good outcomes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Phil.